Hey everybody, I am Curious, and you are watching On With The Show. And today's topic was something that just popped up on my radar today. And I wanted to talk about it because I was kind of in shock when I saw this. And so I wanted to talk about this as I got a plane flying over. Always when I'm recording. But we're gonna talk about Hayden Panettiere in her recent interview on a podcast where she talks about how she was put in a very, very inappropriate situation by one of her own friends. And so I'm going to switch over to the OBS and we're going to get right into the story. So just hold on. And the headline reads from page 6, Hayden Panettiere details shocking moment. She was forced in bed with an undressed, very famous man at 18. This is written by Carson Blackwelder. Written yesterday, May 7th, and it says, Hayden Panettiere allegedly found herself in bed with an undressed and very famous man when she was just 18 years old. The actress recounted the shocking encounter, which she reveals in her upcoming memoir, This Is Me, A Reckoning, her appearance on Monday's episode of On Purpose with Jay Shetty podcast. I will show a clip of that from TMZ in just a minute. Panettiere, now 36, recalled believing she was having a fun night out on a boat with friends when she was taken by surprise and felt in danger. The hero star claims she was led by somebody that I'd grown to trust and see as a protector and somebody who had my back down the stairs into a very small room. Let me just go to the video. Let me see if I can just go to the video and play this from TMZ. And what is said of their headline, Hayden Panettiere, I was put in bed with a naked Hollywood star.
When I got to this part, when you write about this in the book, you write about a moment in your career where a friend of yours takes you onto a boat. You are led to a room which has an older man in it, and then basically told to perform sexual acts, and
Oh yeah.
And when I read that, I'm like, oh gosh, like not only have you felt like you've had a really unsupported, upbringing, you're now with a friend in the industry and then ending up in a situation like this. Could you talk to me about what that moment does to your psyche when you're that?
I mean, the fact that I was 18, even though I'd lived such a huge life, and I thought...
So she said, so she was 18 at the time. She's 36 now. So this happened 18 years ago. So that puts us back at 2008. Just to give clarification. So let's go on back to the rest of the video.
I was so mature at 18. Scientifically, our frontal lobes don't develop until we're 26, 25, 26.
Yep.
So even though I felt like I could make healthy decisions, safe decisions, I wasn't capable of being fully aware of what was going on around me. And it wasn't until I found myself in predicaments that I realized, like, my perspective completely shifted, and I realized that I was in danger. But by the time I realized I was in danger, I was quite literally out to sea. And it was that that moment shook me and was shocking. And I was quite literally walked down, and I had been having a great time. There was no hints of anything like that happening. So it took me, I was shocked. It took me by surprise. And it was led by somebody that I had grown to trust and see as a protector and somebody who had my back. And to be walked down, down the stairs, and it was as like a surprise, presented as though it was like a surprise. And it was this very small room, and she physically put me in the bed next to this undressed man who was very famous, and had his hands like this, like this was just, an average day for him. This is something that happens all the time. And I waited for her to leave, and I mean, that lion in me, that fire in me, my hair stood on end, and I what became ferocious. I was like, this is not happening. But I had nowhere to hide, and I bolted, and I hid wherever I could think of to hide on a boat. On a boat. There was no jumping off and swimming away, and there was nobody who was going to. I realized that there was nobody who was going to be empathetic to my situation. That this was nothing new to them.
I mean, that sounds, it's such a horrifying event to go through and to be put in that position at 18 years old.
And disappointing when somebody lets you down like that. And I've been let down so much before, and that when you really find somebody that you trust, like, you hold on to them for dear life, and you feel so lucky. So to be betrayed like that is just an awful feeling.
So she gets led onto a boat. She basically is having a party on a boat. By the time she figures out what's going on, they've left and are out on open water. So she has nowhere. She gets out of there. She runs back up, and they're out on the water. And there's nowhere she can go. She can't just, like she said, I can't just jump in the water. Though the Nashville actress believed she was so mature enough at the time, after having lived such a huge life, she now realizes this wasn't the case. Even though I felt like I could make healthy decisions and safe decisions, I wasn't capable of being fully aware of what was going on around me. They pretty much set her up for this. Panettiere has been on a press run leading up to the release of This Is Me, a Reckoning on May 19th, and recently made headlines for coming out as bisexual. In an interview with Us Weekly, she detailed the scary experience of dating women while avoiding the paparazzi, and how she didn't have the courage to throw herself fully emotionally into it because she didn't want to hide that part of herself. While Panettiere noted that it's better than late than never to come out, her estranged mother, Leslie Vogel, told Daily Mail that it was interesting timing for her daughter to share this now. So let's just look real quickly at Panettiere's career. I'm going to go over to IMDb. Here's her IMDb page, which says she was born August 21st, 1989. She's currently in a movie called Sleepwalker. I don't know, when is that going to be released? Very quickly. Let me see when it's going to be released. It doesn't tell me right off the bat. And I'm not going to spend all of my time looking for it. It has not gotten really well. 3.8 out of 10. The ratings are not really that good. But if we look at her, she's most known for Heroes. And if you look, it ran from 2006 to 2010. So she was in the middle of her Heroes career, which is where she got her big time fame from Heroes. And she said she just turned 18 years old. So when she started Heroes, she was 16. Turned 18 on the show. She's also known for I Love You, Beth Cooper, Scream 4, Remember the Titans. This was back in 2000. So she was a little kid, and during that, if you don't remember, she was the coach's daughter. And some of the other things she's done: Nashville, Heroes Reborn, Until Dawn, Kingdom Hearts 3D Dream Drop Distance. Oh yeah, she does. She has done voice work for Kingdom Hearts. This was for Xeon, the English version. Um, Heroes, like it says here, uh, Scooby Doo and the Goblin King. She did Fairy Princess Willow as voice artist. Shanghai Kiss, Kingdom Hearts 2. She was voiced Kyrie. She was she was in Special Victims Unit. She has a long, long history. You know, her got a very big. Here's Remember the Titans in 2002. Um, Dinosaur. She was the voice of Suri. She was the voice of Dot in A Bug's Life. Um, just she has a long, long career. She goes back to 1996. So it just kind of surprises me, and then again, it doesn't surprise me that things. I mean, this was again 2008. This was pre Me Too movement. This is, I think, for the first time, a lot of people are hearing about this, and she doesn't name the actor who she was thrown in bed with, which is interestingly enough, because people are going to want her to start, who was it? Who was the filthy man that you were thrown in bed with? Because it almost feels like, she played Amanda Knox in the Amanda Knox movie. She played Riding Hood and Hoodwinked 2. I'm just going to go back, but people are going to want to know who was the actor. And she just basically said it was a well-known, famous, older actor. You have to figure that this was 18 years ago, so what are the possibilities that she doesn't name the actor because he's passed on? And that's the reason why she won't name him. Let's go to the TMZ article really quick. She was with an industry friend. Even worse, Hayden was with an industry friend she trusted and viewed as a protector. So even the protector was in on this. The so-called friend let her down into a small room on a boat and physically put her into the bed with the undressed man. Again, who she says is very famous. That's it. She doesn't name the friend here, which would be interesting, but that's gotta sting to like you trust this person, and I wouldn't be surprised. And you know what? I'll talk about this on the other side of it. I'll go into a little more detail because I wouldn't be surprised if this whole thing was a setup between the actor and the friend. Again, I don't like to go into too much of conspiracy theories, but it just reeks of it. She was also asked about, here's headline from People magazine dated today, written by Hannah Sachs. This is Hayden Panettiere denies claim that she abandoned her daughter after giving up custody, calls decision incredibly difficult. The actress shares her daughter Kea, 11, with ex-fiance Vladimir Klitschko. It says here that Hayden Panettiere is clarifying. Oh, go back. I accidentally clicked on that. Hayden Panettiere is clarifying her relationship with her daughter Kea. Speaking out again on the On Purpose podcast with Jay Shetty, Panettiere is addressing heartbreaking claims that she gave away her child after she signed over custody to her ex-fiance Vladimir Klitschko in 2018. I mean, the idea that anybody would think that I would just give away my child and be okay with it is heartbreaking. Couldn't be farther from the truth. She goes into more detail, says the Nashville star was struggling with her mental health and substance abuse and felt like she had completely lost herself. I think a misconception is that I have been in the past forced into treatment when in fact I have been the one who sought it out, who was saying I desperately need help, which actually is really good. I mean, the actress who's most recently starred in a psychological thriller Sleepwalker called herself a mother lion and said she would have burnt the whole world down for Kea, but Klitschko felt it was best that their daughter live in Europe while Panettiere sought treatment for alcoholism and substance abuse. That was incredibly difficult. The fact that my child wasn't going to be with me all day, every day, was, you can't put words to it. It's just really intense feeling for multiple, while our daughter was in Europe, Panettiere realized that Kea had friends and family overseas and began to speak multiple languages like her dad. So by the time I finally got healthy, I felt like it would have been unfair of me and selfish of me to try to pull her out of this life that she had been creating, this life that she had been living, noted the hero's actress, an incredible life. So she basically just, her daughter was basically living very fruitfully in Europe and didn't want to pull her out of that because it would have been very traumatic for her to do so. Now Panettiere says her daughter is so happy and speaks 5 different languages. She knows that she's got 2 parents that love her, and I know in my heart that she feels supported. I have an incredible relationship with her. I go travel as much as I can. I see her. I do spend a lot of time on FaceTime with her, but we talk about really deep things. We have a really intense, incredible bond, and I'm very grateful for that. Yes, she just didn't want to she was in a bad spot in her life. And luckily she had a guy like Klitschko who could take their daughter, live in Europe with her, raise her while she got healthy. That's very important. She didn't just give her daughter up. She gave her to the other parent to live with while she got healthy. And I think that's a very adult decision, because sometimes it's really difficult because, if, once your children get into a certain age where, I think, even my opinion, when they get into high school, you're staying where you're at, because it would be just cruel to just pull them out of high school and to take them somewhere else, because, they've already established a routine, friends, they've got, there's no way that she's just going to pull her out and be like, okay, we can start all over now, back in the States. No, it would have been incredibly cruel. She's and the fact that she's learned how to speak 5 languages, I think says a lot. I think it says a lot to how Klitschko is raising her. But I'm going to close this out. I'm going to talk about the first story a little more, and basically give you my opinion on it, because I think, again, it brings up some very hard truths that have been going on in Hollywood. And back then, I don't know if they're still going on. I haven't heard of any crazy stories coming out of Hollywood like this. But yeah, let me close the OBS out and we're going to talk. I'll give you my opinion on the other side of this. So yeah, that's kind of hard to read, kind of hard to watch. This happened 18 years ago, and it's still something that upsets her to this day. I don't think I don't think the being shoved into a bed with a naked man is what traumatized her. I think what really traumatized her was the betrayal of this friend, this person who she thought was a protector, this person that she thought was, going to, have her back. And instead her friend threw her to the wolves. And what's to say, and again, I'm going to put my thinking cap on here. What's to say that the actor and the friend didn't plan this? That they were like, yeah, I like her, I want to sleep with her. Can you arrange that for me? I'll even help you get a part in my next show, my next film, my next, project. I'll push your career if you can get me some sleep bedtime with Hayden Panettiere. Because let's be honest, that's how we ended up with Weinstein. Weinstein would promise the moon to a lot of these women. And in a way, and I'll even use another example, this friend was the Ghislaine Maxwell to her Epstein, you know what I'm saying? He went to her, said, "Can you get me Hayden Panettiere? I wanna be with her." And the friend was like, "Yeah, I think I can do that. Yeah, you're gonna promise me this and that, and I'm gonna be on your show, and I'm gonna give. Oh, yeah, that sounds great. You're gonna push and I'm gonna be a producer, and I'll be on and on and on." This is how, and this is nothing new. This has been going on since the golden age of Hollywood, when we had silent films. This Hollywood has a long, long track record of this. I'm still believing, even to this day, that there are still a lot of shady things going on behind, that we haven't even known about. We don't even know about yet. But for her to come out and say this, and again, she doesn't name the actor on the podcast. I thought she named the friend. She doesn't name the friend. But just only as someone who I thought had my back. And only to get totally betrayed by this person is absolutely crazy. And then, when she escapes, and let me tell you, she escaped, she goes to get off the boat only to find out, no, they're in open water. And she has to figure out how to not only does she have to figure out how to stay away from the actor, she now has to figure out a way how to stay away from her so-called friend. Because, if it looks like a conspiracy, it's a conspiracy. Things just don't happen like this. I'm sure that they planned on this little boat party, to bring her on the boat, and then, things went the way that she reported. And then, okay, we got to get out in the water. We got to make sure let's get out in the water. Yeah, let's take the boat out. Let's take the boat out. Yay! The boat's out, and she can't go anywhere. And it's got to be something that's really scary. Because again, I understand you're 18 years old and you've had this fabulous, career, life, and you think you're grown and you think you know better. And the crazy part is that you really don't, until all of a sudden you experience certain things that you don't want to experience. It's the bad things that happen to you are where you grow the most. And I know that sounds crazy. I know I don't wish any ill will or anything to happen to anybody. I don't wish anything bad to happen to anybody. But unfortunately, in my life, the most I've learned is from the bad things that have happened to me, or the bad things that I created in my life. And I'm kind of surprised, because correct me if I'm wrong here, I don't remember her ever speaking out during the Me Too movement. Not once. I don't remember her speaking out again during the Me Too movement at all. This is the first. When I saw this morning, I was like, what in the world? And I thought this was something that was fairly recent. No, this happened back when she did Heroes in 2008. And, and she was a hot commodity. Everybody loved Claire Bennett. Everybody loved the cheerleader. Everybody wanted to be with the cheerleader. I know that sounds kind of direct, but the show was based around here. Save the cheerleader, save the world. Basically, how it worked. Save the cheerleader, save the world. And they even tried to bring Heroes back, Heroes Reborn, and she was in that show for a little while. She's had a very long, fruitful career, and she's still not even 40 years old. I think she could still have a long career ahead of her. And I wouldn't be surprised if much of her alcoholism was due to this event that happened to her. I mean, again, I'm pretty much saying that the betrayal of her friend was harder on her than actually being shoved in bed with a naked man. Now, I think they're both pretty traumatic. But the fact that this friend set her up speaks more volumes than anything else. And she doesn't say the friend's name during the podcast. I think as a way of, not having to deal with any legal battles. But again, I think the older actor, I think one of the reasons why she doesn't name him is because, again, this was 18 years ago. It's a possibility this actor has passed on, that he's no longer with us. And she doesn't want to, she might be under, you don't speak ill will of the dead, don't tarnish a man's reputation when they're not able to defend themselves. But it's pretty shady to, have the, and it makes me think also that this particular actor has done this before. That he's done these kind of things before, But I think it's very, I'll use the word brave. The word brave tends to get overused in situations like this. But I do feel that she's brave. I feel like writing this memoir is a way of therapy for her to get a lot of this trauma out. And I wouldn't be surprised if she actually is some type of therapy for this. But my only prayers for her is that I hope she continues to do well and be well. And I look forward to watching whatever the projects she has in the future. I'm looking forward to it. And I think, again, I'll use the word again, brave. I think it's incredibly brave that she let everybody know this event happened to her. And who knows? Maybe we'll find out. We'll figure out who the people are that she's talking about, because this is this to me kind of reads like that this has happened before Hayden, and it's probably happened after Hayden. We'll find that out. We'll figure that out later on. All right. Thank you so much for watching the podcast today. I'm Goose. You're watching On With the Show. If you haven't already, go down, subscribe to the channel, bang that bell for notifications so you always know when new podcasts are uploaded to YouTube. Give me a big like on the video. It does help me with the algorithm. And it tells me that this was a topic that, yes, I liked it, I appreciated it, and I want to see more of this kind of stuff. Share this out to your friends, family, and neighbors. Let them know what I'm doing over here with On With the Show. And do me a favor, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about this topic today and how Hayden Panettiere came out and basically told the world of this traumatic event that happened to her when she was 18 years old, and that her friend basically stabbed her in the back, probably to get herself some role in the future with this actor. And again, my opinion is this: I really don't need to know who the actor is. I don't need to know who the friend is. They already know what's going on, and they'll spend a nice good eternity in hell for all I care. Also, if you haven't already, go down and check in the description a couple of our other channels, Travel by Nature and Miss Denise Kitchen. You'll see their vlogs and our cooking show, and just let us know what you think. Go on down there and give us a look. I appreciate that. But with all of that being said, I am Goose. You are watching On With the Show. Thank you so much. I will see you on the other side.